Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all, so don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendell and Stuart. Your time to grow, listen up, take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn.
And welcome back to the Big Potato Podcast. Yeah, that's right, it's the Big Potato Podcast, episode number 11. Yep, we're elevating right now, all the way up. Yours truly, Kendall, I'm here. My co-host Stuart is here as well. Stuart, how you doing, buddy?
I am great. Excited about tonight's episode. Excited for all the knowledge we're going to share. It's really going to be a lot of food for thought tonight. Mm-hmm. And again, number 11. We crawling up, you know. Yeah, we crawling up.
Slowly but surely. And we just enjoying the ride. I hope you guys are enjoying the ride as well. I know we have some avid listeners out there. They don't miss an episode, you know. So make sure you subscribe to the Big Potato Podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, and also follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Special shouts to all our followers out there. Thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate it. All your support, all your feedback, your shares, your likes, and your following, as I said. Let other entrepreneurs out there know, episode by episode, we're just switching gears through the industries. We had a great chat last episode regarding outdoor recreation, hiking, tours, and so much more that Trinidad and Tobago has to offer. Big up to Hike Nation, real quick, Diori and the team. So Stuart, you went on your hikers yet?
Nah, I didn't go on the hike. Rain, you know. A lot of rain these last couple of days, so I haven't gotten a chance. And then there's so many projects we're working on, you know, with this consultancy we're offering right now, this free 1-hour consultation we're offering. So we're busy.
Take advantage, you guys, of the free 1-hour consultation, mentorship, or coaching. Brought to you by IBOMAQ and the Big Potato Podcast. All you guys have to do, if you have a business idea or a business currently, or you're thinking of getting into business and you just want to bounce some ideas off, or you need some feedback, be sure to send us an email to the Big Potato Podcast at gmail.com. So, all right, we're going to jump inside tonight's episode. As Stuart said, we've been cooking something up. So tonight, we're going to jump into another industry. It's a tasty industry. Yeah, an industry that I know a lot of people are looking forward to for quite some time. Yep, we're going to be talking about food. We're going to be talking about cooking, cuisine. Yep, it's time to introduce our guest tonight. He is an internationally known and renowned professional former chef. Yep, that's right. A professional, not an amateur. He actually was a personal gourmet chef. Yep. In his time, he would have done so many different types of cuisine all around the world. When I researched this chef, I told myself, wow, is there anything that he can't make? I actually saw that he's a lover of spicy Asian food, so I want to hear more about that tonight too. And I also noticed that he was trained. That's why I said he's a professional. Classically trained, as I saw somewhere, from the famous New York Institute of Culinary Education, ICE. And I'm sure in his journey tonight, he's going to tell us a lot more about his development over the years. It's my great honor and pleasure to welcome to the Big Potato Podcast, Chef Finbar. Barry Finbar is on with us tonight.
Good night, everyone.
Welcome, Barry.
Good night.
Good night, Barry.
Great to be here with you guys.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for making the time. I'm surprised you're not in the kitchen right now.
Right. I was actually in the middle of editing a movie that myself and my nephew have been working on for the past year. It was also shown at the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival last year, and we won People's Choice. Panaz the story, sorry. So we're doing some more work on that right now.
That's why I was excited to have him on, because he's not just a chef, a steel pan lover, a strong steel pan lover. But I guess he'll get into that when he goes through, his entrepreneurial journey and his past. He will speak to that steel pan and how he was able to jump from that passion, that love, to another one, which was the cooking.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Well, is that All Stars link up here?
Nah, Panaz. But I must say, Barry is always present for Trinidad All Stars events. I must say that.
All Stars for life.
For life. I must say that. So, I have a love for this guy already.
Off to a good start, right?
Off to a good start.
Telling you, we're going to have so much fun tonight in this discussion. And as usual, you guys look out for all the insights that we are sharing as well, because you know what we're about. We are just about light-hearted discussion, delivering strategic business insights. So you guys, pay attention. But before we jump in with Chef Finbar, with Barry tonight, let me just introduce our first segment. It's called What Caught Our Eye. And you know how we do it. Quick entrepreneurial insights on stories or articles or events that we may have noted over the past few weeks. Now, I saw an article on Forbes.com and it said American restaurants to top $1 trillion for the first time. Now, this is the American, and let me just make sure and specify the North American restaurant industry. They're scheduled or forecast to end 2024 surpassing $1 trillion. That's amazing. That's something that is monumental and has never been done before in their history. And this is actually based on the National Restaurant Association's State of the Restaurant Industry report. Now, they've seen that there's an optimistic outlook with over 200,000 jobs expected to be created as well. This article was written at the end of February. So I guess that they're forecasting throughout the rest of the next 10 months of this year. Of course, we're in June now. Now they're saying restaurants are finding ways to battle inflation and increase food prices and supply chain issues. I'd be interested to know what those are. They're saying they're leveraging technology for cost reduction, for efficiency, for inventory management. And we're seeing where it's being used even to assist where waiters would have once been doing a job. Now, many customers are willing to pay and willing to increase their dining experiences if the value proposition meets their expectation. We know we're talking to a lot of people in our audience who go out there to different types of restaurants. You experience different types of service, of food, and generally just have different experiences. So for my entrepreneurs out there, why did this catch my eye? Especially for my entrepreneurs who may be in Trinidad and the Caribbean. We know how trends go. So if there's a trend globally and as close as North America, where they are seeing things happening in the restaurant industry, what could we take note of? I don't think that the same applies 100% to the Caribbean or Trinidad, but I believe that some of the things that they are doing, we definitely can look at. It means that there is opportunity in this sector, that there is opportunity for chefs, cooks, people who are interested in gastronomy to get involved. What can you do? How can you be a part of this industry? How can you supply to this industry? How can you provide service to this industry? Maybe you're in technology. How can you adopt your technology in this industry? All questions that could be answered. We see some stories of restaurants closing down in Trinidad and other places in the Caribbean. Is there an opportunity for them to change the format from the non-traditional models and now move into a different realm? So I'm really interested to hear, based on this assessment in the US market. I know you have worked in the US market, Barry. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I will say I did work in the US market. I was my culinary school started there at in the Institute of Culinary Education. That was 2003. And once I graduated there, I spent 15 years working in New York in various restaurants. And there's no better place than New York to do that, because as you know, the array of cuisines is endless and very competitive, and the best of the best is there. Anything you like, it's there in New York. You don't got to travel nowhere else to get
exactly
really good cuisine that's comparable to anywhere, to the original countries that's yes, it's spun off from. So I spent my first internship was done at a place called Tabla, a restaurant called Tabla, a huge restaurant called Tabla. Chef Floyd Cardos was the head chef. He was a very popular Indian chef, always on American TV shows doing cooking segments and whatnot. Very talented, very experienced chef. Unfortunately, he passed away. He was one of the first COVID cases in America, and he actually lost his life there. That was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. The one chef that I worked with first, you know.
Right.
And then that was a sort of French Indian cuisine. Then from there, I worked at a Jamaican soul restaurant. The reason why I ended up there was mainly because I didn't have my papers at the time. And I was just going to restaurant to restaurant to see who would accept me just under the tables. So it wasn't legally the best thing to do, but I was happy to get any kind of pittance of money just for the experience.
Of course.
So I worked at this restaurant called Moby. It was a Jamaican, I said really Jamaican, and combined with Black American soul cuisine. The usual sort of candied yams and the collard greens and the blah, 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 blah,
Right.
and the full Jamaican cuisine, everything.
Right.
I must say that particular experience for me, even though it wasn't necessarily the choice I would have gone for to start off with, because coming from Trinidad, our food is pretty similar to Jamaica's food, and soul cuisine isn't necessarily my favorite in general. But still, what I'm going there for is just to learn how to multitask in a kitchen.
Yes.
And that was priceless. And it was hell. It was hell at times, and it was fun at times, but it was more hell than fun. Because I started off there taking over from an experienced Jamaican-American chef, and he was leaving the restaurant. And so I had like a week to learn the entire menu. And at the time, he had about maybe, let's say, 3 assistants in the kitchen, sous chefs and prep chefs and dishwasher and whatnot.
Right.
And so I did that, and I managed to learn everything, put my own twist on it.
Right.
My own Trini twist into their Jamaican food. So the Jamaican listeners here, don't cuss me for putting some shallow-belly in all their curry, but it helps. Anyhow,
Unique taste.
A little Jira doesn't hurt either. So
Yeah.
I kind of kept it Jamaican, of course, but I added a few of our elements as well. And before I knew it, the other branch in Harlem, they had another branch in Harlem on 125th Street. They were hearing about my curry in Brooklyn.
Right.
So they wanted me to teach the chef up in Harlem what I did to the curry to make it taste like that and whatnot. But I love Jamaican curries as well. I really do. It has its own appeal, you know. And so having done that now, I was doing some back and forth spending 6 months in New York and then 6 months in Trinidad, then back to New York again and back to Trinidad again, trying to get a work permit
Right.
through full time. And that took some time to get, as you can imagine. And I remember every time I came back to this restaurant, I would sort of peep into the restaurant without them knowing that I'm back in the country, just to have a look in the kitchen to see who's there and what's going on. And every time I would peek in, there would be a new chef with a good amount of staff assisting them. And once I started back, this lady would start firing staff in the kitchen to dwindle it down to me and a dishwasher, because she knew the output that I had. And also she had me like at the grip of her hands because I was being paid under the books, under the table.
Right.
So it used to amaze me every single time. It'll just dwindle slowly down because she knew she would make more money, obviously, with less staff. But still, I didn't complain because it gave me more opportunity to be in control of the kitchen by myself, and as opposed to being under some crazy loudmouth, which is a general way of starting in a restaurant. You have some chef over you shouting at you, and it can be quite challenging, you know.
Right.
But so I got in charge of the kitchen very fast, and I literally actually enjoyed the challenge of coming in there at 6 a.m. when nobody's there, opening up the restaurant, and it could be winter outside or whatever. At least I'm in there by myself, and I'm just pacing myself with pot after pot after pot after pot. And I'm not talking about small pots. I'm talking about these massive pots, because I now have to cook for not just my shift from 6 a.m. until 4 p.m., but I have to cover the chef coming in at 4 p.m. till midnight. He didn't have time to cook these big pots. He's just doing the a la carte stuff on his stove. But I have to have enough food for him to handle, be it the, just two oxtails and the jerk chicken and jerk pork and curry goat and whatever, candied yams and mac and cheese,
good southern food,
collard greens and all those cornbread, and
laughing
now because it was such a memory.
But as you said, a memory.
Well, a memory because yes, it was a good memory. It was an awful memory, but overall, I wouldn't change it for the world, because to become a really qualified chef that can handle yourself, you got to go through some form of hell. And I did that. I did that there. It wasn't the most fancy restaurant, but I did it there. And I learned priceless lessons on how to just multitask in the kitchen and get it all done,
Perfect. No, you mentioned that was like all around 2003 and onward.
Yeah.
But in terms of the industry, seeing it at that size, at that time in America.
Yeah.
And now in terms of the forecast to say that they're going to be crossing $1 trillion US in 2024.
Right.
What's your thoughts on that?
Right. The food industry has just taken off, I would say, literally in the last 10 years, more so than ever. It's become very trendy. And it's become the thing to do, the thing to take photographs of your food. That was never a thing before. You can't go out to a restaurant anymore without taking photographs of your meals. So therefore, that's attracting a large amount of the population just to be in with it and just trying different foods, whether it be street foods to fine dining. I will say that there's a lot of focus now on just street food and smaller spots with great food, as opposed to the major fine dining restaurants. They're still there, but there's more of an interest, I think, with the youth today in exploring what's going on with streets and grubby food and delicious Asian foods and deals and just flavors, strong flavors.
Yes.
All of which I love. I love strong flavored cuisines around the world, Of course, I also love delicate flavored food as well, because less is more on many occasions, But I'm heavy into Asian food, and of course, I love Caribbean food as well. But I will say, yes, that there is a definite buzz going on, and it will trickle down to the islands here as well, obviously, because everything that happens in the States happens here eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah. So And I see it happening here, just with all the food trucks and all the smaller places that are opening with more sort of experimental foods, you know?
Yeah.
I love
You've
and
seen it.
fusions and this, that, and the other. It's just all over the place now. And it's very competitive, and it's a nice buzz, you know? And then with all the food bloggers around the world, that's key. That's key to the whole rise of
Right.
of what's going on in the world with the food industry. No longer you have to call the Express and Guardian to come and showcase something you're doing.
Exactly.
You call one blogger and it's going out to millions in seconds. You know,
Yeah.
if you call the right person, as opposed to the Express, or I'm not going to call her names, close to paper media or whatever. There's still a niche for that, but they can't compete with what's going on with these bloggers. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that is spreading the word so much faster, and everybody wants to be in on what's the newest thing happening. You know?
That's correct. I agree with everything you're
Yeah,
saying
I mean,
there.
just to go back before I finish with New York, I didn't stay, of course, in Jamaican restaurant. I was there for quite a while, maybe 6 years, and then I finally got my papers through the Irish embassy in New York, because I was
Right.
born in Ireland,
Okay.
by the way.
Okay.
And, yeah, and then I got my work permit eventually, and then I went to do some chefing at a Baton Rouge restaurant, a New Orleans cuisine restaurant up in Manhattan. The restaurant was called Baton Rouge, actually.
More soul food.
Yeah, all the gumbos and jambalaya and all that stuff. And then I did some trailing in other restaurants. Trailing means where you go and work for a week or two with no pay, just to learn, just for the opportunity to just be in the kitchen of a Thai restaurant or a Sichuan restaurant. I love that. I enjoy doing that, you know. And that's priceless, you know. That's just for your own knowledge. And it's very common in New York to have students being accepted into any restaurant just to trail, because they ain't paying them. It's free labor.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then after that, just very quickly, I started doing private gigs, and I would go out to somewhere in Connecticut, for example. Connecticut, there's a person I know there who was like very wealthy and on a lake with boats and just affluence everywhere. And I would do a party there for one night and get the same money there that I would get in a month in a restaurant.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I realized that I'm doing something wrong here. So I started to do some private caterings. And that talk spreads. Once you do a gig like that and the food is good, then you recommend it somewhere else, you know? And that's where it transitioned to.
But I like what they said about the bloggers and the use of the technology, because that's something we will discuss later when we speak about the trends in the industry, the use of these foodies. And I don't want to mention the local foodies and the local food bloggers, but there are a lot of them and they get the message out. And you also mentioned the off-site operations, the food trucks and so on. That is something I saw as well in the research for this episode, that is a growing trend. You know, it's definitely some nice information you gave there. But in response to the question you asked, Kendell, well, the article you spoke to, I have to ask, that is revenue or that is profit? Because from what I heard, I think it's revenue. So from what I understand, the industry, there's a lot of rising costs right now. The margin's very, very tight. And when you look at what $1 trillion is now, based on NPV, the net present value, and you look back at 2018, it's still below the 2018 figure if you really balance off for that. Because 2018 was about $864 billion. Sorry, 2019. Was about $864 billion in revenue. But when you adjust the $1 trillion back to 2019, it's about $815 billion, which is a variance of about $49 billion. So I just say that because we never really spoke about net present value of money on this podcast, and people need to understand sometimes they might call big figures. You might hear this NBA player signed for this amount of money, largest contract ever. But when you really adjust for the inflation, Michael Jordan is still the highest paid athlete, basketball player of all time. You know, so there's something key I wanted to bring up based on that article. We need to keep in mind that money as a net present value, inflation erases the value of your money. So saying $1 billion now, I will take the 864 million in 2019.
Yes.
So, Stuart, what caught your eye here this week?
Wow. Well, what caught my eye this week is an article from Forbes as well by Miss Edwin Chow in 2023. Now, this article was about Chefette in New York. Chefette.
It's Chefette?
Yeah, Chefette. Chefette from Barbados.
Is Chefette related to Chef Finbar? It's like a brother.
Oh, no, not Chef Finbar. Chefette. You know,
Yeah,
the
Chefette, sorry, go ahead.
the famous Bayesian chain.
Yeah.
So they did a pop-up event, some food truck pop-ups for the 50th anniversary of the business.
Yeah.
So they popped up in New York and they had long lines, and that article was very telling because while it boasted about the success of it, they also spoke about what Caribbean restaurant brands need to do to be successful in the United States or the North American market. So for instance, they say some of the challenges that Caribbean brands face is limited marketing understanding, the nuances of the American market, access to digital tools, resource constraints, logistical challenges, cultural stereotypes. These things, you really need to be in there. You need to have people who understand these things to be able to translate your brand to something that they will be able to really appreciate and put value to. And then another thing is that Caribbean food brands tend to be more focused on manufacturing as opposed to branding. And that is another major challenge that the Caribbean brands, local Trinidadian, Tobagonian restaurants who want to set up in the States, they need to understand. The manufacturing, putting out a good product is one thing. But that brand and that marketing, that is key in that North American market. What are your thoughts on that, Byron?
I agree with that too. I'm just thinking about, like, in general, the Jamaican restaurant in Brooklyn, for example, that I worked in.
Mm-hmm.
Jamaicans, of course, they have a very big presence visually with what they do. And their whole image, like in both branches, was very visual Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's a huge Jamaican and Trini population in Brooklyn as well. But you got to play to the Americans. And I guess that's probably why they combine Jamaican and soul cuisine together. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned this talk, that's going through my head. Just to sort of push both to capitalize on the Black American market, Right. That was my thoughts while you were talking.
Yeah, it has to tie into something that they're familiar with.
Yeah. So they kind of tied it in.
Kendell, any thoughts, Kendell?
Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, shows basically the trends, as Barry said, as the article I spoke about, and even as you alluded to here, that the industry is growing. It is promising. While it is growing on the cost and expense side as well, it is growing because there are a number of entrepreneurs. But further than entrepreneurs, there are a number of cooks, a number of chefs, and a number of people who are in the culinary arts who want to push and advance their businesses out of their own borders.
Yeah.
And I mean, as Barry said, there has always been a heavy influence of Caribbean cuisine, particularly in certain states of the US. When you look at New York, I mean, you go through the whole of New York, you don't have to talk about Brooklyn, Queens. I mean, you go up to New Jersey, Miami, you have Florida, you have Houston, and these restaurant chains from the Caribbean and different cooks and chefs from the Caribbean, you're seeing them going out there and exposing our local flavors. Yeah. From doubles to roti.
Right.
Roti party. Barry, sure you've seen it all out there.
I did the pilau version with the roti party with ling and lamb. But yeah.
So it definitely is, as I like to use on this podcast, my favorite word, opportunity. For you guys out there, you may think, all right, what I cooking here, this chow I making, only people in Trinidad would understand this and would appreciate this. But Stuart, you could imagine Stuart selling chow out there in Canada?
Yeah, and they have different types of chows. So it might be the same things we might chop up and chow up in Trinidad, but there have a lot of fruits out there you could chow. You could even mix it. So it could be some mango with some apple or something they will be accustomed to. It has to be something that is familiar with them for them to even try it in most cases. You know, it's very interesting to me that in a lot of cases, the authentic Caribbean foods have to sell at a lower price than the American restaurants, their Caribbean-styled food.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, that's very interesting to me as well, based on what you just said, Kendell.
Yeah.
So, folks, that's how we wrap up this first segment. What caught our eye? Brought to you by IBOMAQ. Remember, send them an email for your 1-hour free consultation today. Do you have a business idea or looking to innovate your existing business? Get a free one-on-one 1-hour consultation with the Big Potato Podcast team. We'll help you assess your business potential and maximize its value. Whether it's mentorship, coaching, or consulting, we've got you covered. Don't miss out. Check out our social media for details. Presented by IBOMAQ Consulting. So we're back on the Big Potato Podcast. Such an exciting discussion already. So much that we've learned, so much that we understand, but it's time to get to know our guest a little better and for the real insights to start to flow. Our guest tonight, of course, culinary arts expert. We call him Barry. You may know him as Chef Finbar. This guy cooked for Nicki Minaj and her entourage on her visit to Trinidad a couple of years ago. We're going to talk about that, you know, because we want to know how that link-up happened. But before we get to that, Barry, you gave us a bit of your history, your journey a while ago. But even before you decided to go to ICE and ready to study culinary arts, where did the passion begin for you?
I started off working professionally, not professionally. My first job was at Republic Bank. I started off in Belmont branch, which no longer exists. And then I spent a whole 15 years there working in the bank. Yeah, that time sounds like, I can't believe it was a whole 15 years, but it was 15 years. But towards the end of that period, I would say the last 5 years was when Panaz was formed, Panaz Players. And that was my band. And myself and Ewan Popwell were the arrangers. And it was really done for Pan Ramage. We formed the band to enter this competition called Pan Ramage. Mm-hmm. And to make that story real short, because there's a whole movie about it, basically, I sort of handpicked players from different bands in Port of Spain and players who could improvise and ran Ramage without being told what to play, you know. And basically, we entered our first year and we won. And the second year we won. The third year we won. The fourth year we won. So we won 4 years in a row.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then I was ready to pull out and just start touring the world, which is what we did. And Republic Bank actually was sponsoring us. Initially it was Bank of Commerce, but then, as you know, Republic took over Bank of Commerce and they became our sponsor in those days. So I got a separation package from the bank and I left the bank and started touring the world with Panaz, which was extremely exciting. Places like Japan and Boston Symphony Hall 2 years in a row, mind you. The Boston Symphony Hall 2 years in a row.
Wow.
The first year we were actually brought there was to open for Sparrow. And so I guess Sparrow was the real calling card, obviously, because we were a new band. Yeah. But we did the whole first half and Sparrow did the second half. And I kid you not, there was standing ovations after the second song we performed because the crowd didn't even know who Panaz was really. And then the next year, the Symphony Hall organizers wanted us to be the main act. So they brought us back again. And in fact, Ken Professor Fillmore's band, his American-based band, they opened up for us. And that's how we hit the US market. And then we did a bunch of states there, and St. Lucia Jazz Festival, and off to Japan and London. And it was just a crazy ride. But we got 5 beautiful CDs to prove for it, and 5 CDs for one band is a lot. Think about it.
It is.
I don't know what band has 5 CDs of high quality. The highest quality recordings, I think, on Pan to date is what people call it, So yeah, that was a great part of my life, until eventually the band sort of split up, and I was kind of left at a bit of a loss as to what to do with my life after that. I had to dig deep and think, what is my passion? I went and tried a video production course in Rockport, Maine. That didn't work out. It was a lot of money wasted.
Wow.
You get to the class there, and of course, there are people with way, way, way more experience than you in the field. I had 0 experience. I was just thinking of combining my musical knowledge with video production,
Similar to what you're doing right now.
But yeah, pretty much. Exactly. Look at that, right? I didn't
Full
think
circle.
about that.
It wasn't wasted money.
Yeah. So we did that. After that, now I was like really in a quandary. I went back to New York, and I was thinking to myself, okay, I know I love to cook, but is that really something that I would consider as a profession? And the more I thought of it, it's like, well, why not? I mean, I couldn't think of anything else that I do and I like to do. So my family encouraged me to just go and find a good school. And when I do that and I find one, just enroll. And I went to the Institute of Culinary Education, ICE, on 23rd Street in Manhattan. And it was a very, very fun and eye-opening year for me. I realized instantly this is what I was supposed to be doing, So, yeah, I did that. And then the rest of the story was what I told you early on in this show, where I did my internship and where I worked and whatnot, and the kind of cuisines that I did. And I never looked back after that. I mean, cooking is my passion.
No, that's amazing.
So instead of playing the pan, I'm just cooking in the pan. So it's kind of
That's actually amazing because, I mean, let me first reiterate, Stuart. It seems like everybody in the financial services
bankers
ends up being some sort of entrepreneur. Yeah. This is the trend right now on this podcast.
Really?
Probably about the 5th or 6th interview and you've come out of the banking industry.
Yeah. So I mean, it's incredible also, as you said, you had to look and dig deep to find that passion. After
deep.
Yeah. And I could just imagine that thought process.
It was some very depressing times as well, because New York can be a very lonely place as well.
Mm-hmm.
It can be the most fun place in the world, but it can be a very lonely place because, you can't even open a bank account unless you have your papers right and whatnot. So you just don't feel a part of the place. It's great to visit, but trying to get in the system there and feel you're part of the whole scene, that was hard. But eventually you started to feel, you belong here for a while. So you're more relaxed in the trade working, And the experiences were just priceless. I mean, all the restaurants that I tried to touch on, it was each of them had their own great benefit to me,
Another thing, when you mentioned it earlier, came to mind that you, aside from going to culinary school, you also wanted to get the experience of different types of cuisine. And what would have been the trigger for that? Because we know some chefs, they stick to what they know, they stick to what they like. And it I guess for somebody like you, that might be kind of boring.
All my life, I mean, my mother is where I learned most of my passion for cooking from. And my father. My father, not just being a professor of medicine in the country, he also believed he made the best curry beef in the world. And there was nobody in Trinidad who could make a better curry beef than him. So I remember just competing with him constantly on making a better curry beef than him in the house here, growing up. And then I remember my next thing was, this is in my early teens, pilau. It was just doing pilau in different ways. I mean, I'm hearing about all kind of curry pilau now, but I was doing that since I was 19. I used to call it curry lao since way back then. Curry pilau and jerk pilau. Jerk lao, you know. But
jerk lao?
Huh?
A jerk lao?
Jerk lao and curry lao, yeah, exactly. You're using the red beans in the pilau, and you're seasoning your chicken in jerk seasoning and whatnot, you know. And having gone to this Jamaican restaurant, the one thing that I left there with, I made sure I was going to get it, was the owner's secret recipe for her jerk paste, which she was always covering up downstairs. She wouldn't let anybody see the whole process. But of course, if I'm working there for 6 years, I would get an ingredient every single day.
Right.
So eventually, I got that recipe down. But yeah, so that was part of my life growing up with my parents. My mother is Irish, and of course she was a great Creole Creole cook as well. She loved cooking Trinidad food, and she did it pretty well for an Irish lady.
I guess that's what brought a lot of your diversity.
Yeah, so I just became really passionate when I got to New York to just explore all the different cuisines out there. And the more I explored, the more I loved this, that, or the other. Filipino, Vietnamese, Thai, Sichuan, all the Asian stuff was the first thing I gravitated towards. And then, of course, all the national foods, world national foods, national dishes was also a big appeal to me, you know. But I have to say that I really love cooking local food. So I have a passion for that. I really love for doing it well and trying to maximize the flavor in our food, you know. I remember when Ling and Lamb, you know of Ling and Lamb, right? They were here so they came to my kitchen on their last day, and I was to do pilau for them because they did the roti and the doubles, which is done very often here. But I find that there's just not enough exposure on other cuisines that we do in Trinidad, especially Creole, you know?
Yeah.
So I was adamant not just to present them with a plate of pilau, but to show them how it's made.
Right.
So that was the challenge to get it done in an hour because they only had an hour to spare. But it went fantastic. I mean, I just pressured all the meats before they came. So also there was oxtail, there was beef, and there was cow heel. And I call it a moolau, moolau. Moo as in cow. So it's oxtail, beef, and cow heel. And of course, they went crazy when they tasted it. Being an African guy, Ling is African. Lamb is.
Lamb.
Yeah. And that's their nicknames. I knew on his first bite he was going to like this, you know, and so said, so done. It's African based, you know, the pilau as well, you know. It's a lot of African roots in pilau. So yeah, so social media again does a lot for exposure for any youth getting involved, you know, just to be aware and maximize your potential with just even WhatsApp. Just maximize WhatsApp. It's right there for you free, you know. Make use of it and really make it work for you, you know.
Make use of the tools.
Yeah, it's a free way of getting in contact with thousands, you know.
Well, let me just ask you something based on a comment you made earlier. You said every time you went back to the restaurant to peak, there was the lady was training, well, she had a different set of staff around her.
Yes.
Right. So that is my question about the industry. Because remember, the perspective is you're a retired person, you're an expert, but a retired person. So what I really want to bring out of this episode is for the younger people who want to go into it, for them to understand what they're going into. So how important and how difficult was it keeping up with the recruitment and training of employees for your restaurants?
The restaurant that I worked for.
For the restaurants you worked for, sorry.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to Moby, for example. The owner of this restaurant, she's Jamaican, of course, kind of Chinese-Jamaican mixture. And she was difficult, extremely difficult to work for. And some said it was Satan's wife. And I think I've agreed. I left there agreeing that it is. Anyhow, but she because she was hard to get along with, the rotation of staff was pretty regular. That was her fault, to be honest with you. But the problem with that is that might affect your consistency of your food. Because if you start treating your chef on a regular basis, the regular clients are going to realize it's either an up or a down to the standard, you know? So with me being off the books, I was underpaid as well for the position I was in.
Being exploited.
Yeah, clear exploitation. And unashamedly so. She didn't care. I literally decided one day when I was there, I think I was sitting on a stool one day and she walked in to arrive at the restaurant, and I had just finished cooking everything, and I decided to sit on a stool, and she told her cashier, "Why is Barry sitting on a stool?" Well, I knew that was the end of my stint in that restaurant. She's asking why the chef is sitting on a stool, having cooked all the food for the day. So exactly. The steam was coming out my ears as to how should I address this and how dramatic should I make this departure, basically. And I literally cursed the place out. They called the police, and it was a drama. Thank God the police didn't arrive before I left. I left, and the next day the daughter hired me in her restaurant, which sent the mother crazy because the mother couldn't believe the daughter is hiring me in Harlem to work the next day after she's called the police on me. But I literally exposed everybody in that restaurant. That's just a frustration story I'm just revealing here, but it happens in restaurants because you just take so much and you're done. That's it. I'm done. I left there feeling so light and so amazing that I made the best decision of my life. And why was I there that long? Because that can happen. You can get stuck just doing this over and over and over and not realizing there's a big world out there to explore in the field. And so said, so done. I went and did a private gig, and that was it. You know, so I probably didn't answer your question. I'm probably drifting off.
No, you did. Because it's a common complaint that the workers not always, but it's common that they have issues with the boss. There's always some sort of look down.
Always.
As I said, they shout at you, right?
yeah, sure. She made the wrong mistake making that statement with me about sitting down. Like, that's it. Bye. Gone. That was the last straw for me.
And as you mentioned, the taste changing. There's a restaurant I'm familiar with in Trinidad. Obviously, I'm not going to call any names. But what I understood with that restaurant is that the process of learning how to cook that meal takes years. It's not a process that just happens overnight. You go and train for weeks and you're qualified in this as an official chef in this. I'm not even going to talk about what type of dish it is. I don't want to leave any clues at all. Yeah. But when the initial chef died, obviously you can't just get someone to replace that person next month if the process of training takes years.
Yeah,
and
right.
There was a definite change in the taste, and it took some time to get back up, but it's back up there. But that's my concern, my question in this industry. The turnover of staff is so high. How do you manage that and not lose the quality? And then another thing is the changing demographic of the workers in the industry. A lot more Venezuelans in the industry locally now.
True. True.
So how does that impact on the flavor? They might add some Venezuelan spices. The same way you added some Trini flavors to the Jamaican dish.
Yeah. I mean, I was visiting a doubles outlet. I don't want to call it names, but it's fully operated by Venezuelans.
Doubles?
Recently. Yeah.
Doubles?
That sounds like down Central or South.
Port of Spain.
Port of Spain?
Yeah. but watching them operate, I mean, it's a fast, busy place. They are doing it like they were doing it for all their life. Like the way they were handling the barra, and it was just like you would swear they spent the entire life here. So I found that was interesting to watch, the way they quickly adapt because they have to. You know what I'm saying?
I remember seeing a video of some Venezuelans making roti. I think that was in Central.
Yeah, because they have to. So they have to get it fast because they have no choice, and that's where they probably would leave locals in the dust because they are eager to do it and eager to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And we're a little more lackadaisical here, but and of course they don't expect any major salary either. But once you respect them like a Trinidadian and with respect, they will produce, and they are, and for the most part, they're all beautiful people,
Yep. And as you said, they have added a lot of quality and a lot of different taste.
Yeah,
Some of our dishes, and you get even better diversity.
Yeah, it's all a plus. It's all a plus.
All a plus.
Yeah.
And I want to switch gears a bit here, Barry. As a personal chef, because obviously you would have worked in restaurants, different types of cuisine. Now, as a personal chef, what really is the difference there, apart from the obvious? Right now, you're cooking for one person or one person and their family and their entourage or however it goes, rather than in a restaurant setting.
Yeah.
This person may have specific needs, specific, dietary stuff.
Yeah.
They may have certain types of food they want catered for a particular event or even a specific time. I'm sure that there would have been some vast differences. Could you walk us through that for those who may be interested in going down this road and really managing the client's experiences and expectations?
Yeah. Well, first of all, definitely, you have to get the experience in a restaurant or a restaurant setting before you even think about becoming a personal chef. So most of your experience is gained working in a restaurant. And just going through the whole drill and the pace and the multitasking and the brutalness of it. If it's a busy restaurant, that's priceless. And if you love it, then the brutality is all part and parcel. So once you got that down, I would highly recommend if you can branch off to being a personal chef. There's more profit and also less stressful. But once you satisfy your clients' needs, and they get to know you, and you become a part of the family to some extent, and they're comfortable with you, I mean that's a consistent salary, and it's as I said, it's not as frantic as it would be in a restaurant job, So I highly recommend that as an option, It just works, and it makes your life less stressful, and you feel more in control of yourself and happy with what you're doing. But get that experience in a restaurant.
No, similarly to the restaurant experience, as a personal chef, would you also recommend having a team with you there? Would you work with a sous chef? Would you have an assistant?
Right.
I guess that would be based on the event or the type of setting.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. A personal chef, I'm talking about just handling a family on a daily basis. But of course, catering is a whole other thing. If you're going to doing parties and fetes, well, that's a whole other element, and that could be very demanding, very grueling. I mean, there's a lot of equipment you gotta acquire as well to keep the food warm and a lot of overheads and whatnot.
Right,
but it does make big money if you do it right, and you're used to the system, which you gain that experience again from a restaurant. But catering parties and whatnot is huge, and the pay is good, but it requires a lot of this organizing and planning and to pull it off well. But if I was doing a private gig for a family and I needed some help, yes, you work with somebody who they agree to have along with you, But yes, it's pretty straightforward. I just think it makes sense. I'm saying that because of my experience in New York, having been going through the restaurant life and then suddenly trying a gig and realizing financially this is just so much better. I'm drinking vodka at the same time while I'm cooking. You can't lose.
You can't lose.
You can't lose. You just can't lose.
Nobody asking you why you're sitting on a stool.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? What the hell? Jesus, Lord.
As Karen Mother said 2 episodes ago, you were speaking about agripreneurship or the farming industry. Some farmers just need one client and they're surviving off of that.
Yep.
So it's very similar to what you're saying there. Once you have the right, let's say, family or team that you're dealing with, you can survive off that and live a more comfortable, more rewarding life.
Yeah. And once you cook one party that comes off well, That's it. Once you cut these customers, guests enjoying their food, why would they not hire you again? And why would it not spread?
Exactly.
And why would the customers not ask their friends, not ask their friends where you came from and what's your number? It just spreads, That doesn't happen in a restaurant. You're behind closed doors, grueling, and all the waiters get all the tips. Nothing for you. I didn't get one tip in New York. The waiters leave there with tons of money.
Wow. And I think that is an excellent point before we take this break and end off with the final segment. Entrepreneurs out there, chefs out there, aspiring chefs out there, understand what is going on. Listen to what Barry is saying. Understand. You need to get the grueling training, I would say, the regimented training, in order to prepare you for what is to come. Because, as he said, managing a kitchen with maybe 10 members of staff in it is far different from being on a personal gig where you're on your own or you may be there with one other person. Yeah. In an instance like that, Barry, before we take this break, what do you really look for in that person that would be assisting you or to work with you?
Remind me of that question. Before I do that, I want to just touch on one more time on that line at the end of on the last time with the waitresses making a lot of tips, because I think it's very important for most people starting off in the business. Many start off as waiters, and they probably want to get in the kitchen eventually. But waiting on tables can be a very lucrative job. You have the right personality. If you just humble yourself and connect with that person at the table, you will get a serious tip. And it's a serious game to play. But if you have the right personality, it's not even a game. It's just, that's who you are. But once you can connect and remember their names, if you can just remember their name when they come the next time, you're getting a serious tip, and it all adds up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can make some real money, especially in New York. My God, those waiters make some good, serious money. And if you're a female and good looking, well, better for you.
Yeah. Of course.
But personality is key. Personality is key, and just being tuned in and polite, and money will just flow,
And I think actually by you saying that, you really answered a part of my question in terms of the type of person or
I forgot to ask that question.
Assistant or people you would choose to work with alongside you. And based on what you said, their personality, humility, those would be some of the things.
And like, for example, I've had a few people help me over the years here in Trinidad, and I would much rather have somebody with zero knowledge in the field with great personality and wants to learn than somebody who has learned and is a bit arrogant. I'm so much happier with somebody who's just learned something every day. I feel good and they feel good, and I am willing to work with that as opposed to somebody else, unless you have your skills and whatnot. If you have a good personality to go with those skills, well, you're on the home stretch. But if there's the contrarian situation where you have the skills and you don't have the right personality, or you have no skills and you have the learning and you want to learn, I'm sorry, that person's going to get the heads up from me.
Perfectly said. Another trending topic on this podcast in all 11 episodes: how to choose your team. And a lot of the entrepreneurs, a lot of the experts, you hear what they say. We take a short break. From Ibadan to Helyard, from slavery to independence, learn how Helyard, the Trinidad All-Stars, created the Trini identity and how that was leveraged for our independence. Get your copy on Amazon now.
Okay, so we mentioned a little while ago about the elevated cost in the industry, food prices going up, the tighter margins. So how would you advise someone, where could they look to reduce some of those expenses and free up and try to push that revenue? Or where do you see opportunities for them? Like, for instance, shopping for more locally sourced items, or just removing items off a menu. What do you advise?
Well, definitely start local. Yeah. Start local. Farmers markets, even that Namdefco market in the Savannah. I go there constantly on a Saturday, and you can get some really amazing deals, from there. And in general, just buying local, and thinking smart with your menus as well. Where I'm always trying to think like, how can I get some real good flavors, but still cutting down on the costs. And spices are not expensive. So
Right.
once you know your spices, there's no new spice invented in the world. There's just this amount of spices, and that's it. It's to acquire them. You know what I'm saying? And once you acquire them, and you know how to mix and match, um, you're off to a good start already. So that plus smart cooking techniques. But in general, I just think thinking local, and of course buying in bulk does help. But if you can't afford to buy in bulk, well, um, that's what the farm market is for. Farmers markets are for. You can buy whatever you want. But yeah, would you agree with that? That
No, I
local
agree
is,
with that. I agree with that 100%. Buy local. You'll get a better product for your money, as far as I am concerned.
And a healthier product.
That's what I mean by better. That's what I mean by better. Healthier for sure. Greener. And then I know also people are tracking the amount of waste a lot more now to reduce that cost.
Yes, exactly.
Seen constantly as well that there are always some sort of, I don't know what to call them, issues happening with food coming in from foreign countries. I mean, recently I saw something with some E. coli with cucumbers.
Always romaine lettuce.
Yes.
Lettuce.
Romaine lettuce always have something.
Yeah, bird flu happening.
Yeah. Because they put all these sprays on because they're traveling for weeks to different countries.
Yeah.
So therefore, there are tons of chemicals poured on them. I've bought some, for example, cilantro in certain places, and it's imported and it smells like grass. Whereas if I buy cilantro that's been grown locally, it's an amazing, beautiful flavored herb. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it is.
So all the chemicals kill it. It kills all the natural flavors of the herbs. So not to mention what it does inside our bellies. I don't know. Who knows?
Exactly.
Because cancer is just taking over the world right now. I don't know.
Now, you as an experienced chef now, having had a great career,
Yeah.
after starting in corporate Trinidad and Tobago, which seems to be, as I said, a trend with a lot of entrepreneurs. You start off in corporate, you're working for somebody, maybe having a nice career, doing what you think you need to do at the time, but probably not what exactly you love doing.
Yes, and that's the goal. If you could just find something you love doing, you are set. It's a brilliant, lucky thing to have.
So many people listening right now actually are walking that walk.
Yeah.
They're stuck in jobs that, as again, they think they need it, and they may need it, for sustenance and to live and survive and so on. What would you say to people who probably are in that mold right now and really seeking, as you said, needing to do that introspection to really find what their passion is and transition into particularly the culinary arts industry?
Yeah.
Because you have so many people, they could bake, they could cook, and these different things. They love the kitchen.
Yeah.
But they're going to work in the bank every day.
Yeah, I know. I mean, 15 years in the bank. I mean, we had some good times, but it really wasn't for me. It just was a job, I'll be honest. It was a great experience because I went from school to the bank, But it's just to think deeply, spend some weeks with yourself and just think, what do you really love to do? And just try to explore that. And if you can do something even close to that, you've chosen the right thing. Because once you enjoy it, you will do it properly. You will have fun doing it, and once you have fun doing it, it'll taste great as well. You know what I'm saying? If you join the culinary field, you know. I always say that if I'm cooking in the kitchen, I have to be in a certain mood, and if I'm in that mood and I decide to cook something on that particular day, that meal will be deadly good. You know what I'm saying? Because I will also have a drink of choice in my left hand while I'm cooking and stirring the pots. And once that's the combination, I have no doubt that people will be wowed by the results.
That's when you work better, right?
Yeah, it's just going to happen. It's going to happen, you know. Yeah, so I think just go brave, push yourself, follow your dream, just dive in, come out of the dead zone you're in, and just, it's one life you live. Give it a shot. It's risky, but give it a shot. Once you like it, it will work for you.
Take that chance. Take that leap of faith.
Yeah, the leap of faith, exactly.
Yeah, but we're going back to technology, because you did mention a bit about use of influencers and bloggers, and so how else you think people could capitalize on latest technologies and so to improve the customer experience, improve the efficiency of the kitchen? Because I was looking at a report from the National Restaurant Association, which is related to America, and it said in 2023, 4 out of 10 restaurants use technology to enhance their kitchen's productivity. And 73% of the operators say that their restaurant is more efficient and productive now than it was before the pandemic, which to me is astounding. So where do you see...
Sorry, what kind of technologies are they using in the kitchen? I'm not following what you mean by technologies in the kitchen.
Well, it's like automation in the back end. Also they would also, in terms of the front end, in terms of the ordering and the customer service and even the bookings, they're using a lot of technology and things,
technology.
and so for that as well. So from you having the hands-on, living in it, and you being also familiar with the up-to-date technologies, you know, where do you see room for the technology? I mean, this is in the States, so obviously thinking about Trinidad, we have a lot more opportunity because some of those technologies won't have been operating here at all. So where do you see for someone who want to enter the industry, they should invest in this, they should invest in that. This will make the job better. Invest in social media technology as well. Build your website, build your brand, you know. Where do you see opportunities for technology?
Well, I personally, I have never worked in a restaurant here in Trinidad, to be honest.
Right.
All my restaurant life was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I would just my main thing locally here is dealing with social media and making it work for you with social media, and making that be a part of your progress. If you conquer Instagram and all the benefits of that, and WhatsApp is huge, as I mentioned earlier today, to get the word out and to sort of coordinate your staff as well with WhatsApp groups and just to have a good morale in the kitchen using the WhatsApps as well. That also helps. We'd be surprised having your staff all in one group, or maybe just dealing with getting the word out to the customers, and having good photography. Photography is key. In my kitchen, I am anal with my photography.
Mm-hmm.
And I get more stressed out with taking the final picture of my food than actually making the food. That's easy for me. But
I see that when I look on Facebook. I see the effort in the photos because sometimes I just want to pelt my phone.
I know. Exactly. But that comes from just being totally obsessed and getting that right shot, you know, and until I get that shot, I am not satisfied. So for me, a lot of my cooking is trying to make the food taste even better than the actual picture, you know. So I challenge myself with that, you know.
There's the taste and the presentation, as you said.
Presentation is key, obviously, and that sells your food. So once you get a good photograph and it makes people want to lick the screen, then you're onto something there. That's huge. Like just go with that alone, and that's something to delve into. And it's what happens with me. Like any shot I put on Facebook, I get a lot of reactions, yes, because that's based on just presentation and what angle I'm taking that I know would catch the crowd, or even the type of food that I'm putting together. What components with what component? Like just last week, I did curry cow heel.
Yes,
with,
I saw that.
Ground
I'd be
beef
very upset.
and Corrali and bus-up shot.
If you see those bowls, Kendell, to that microphone.
Wow.
But that took off. That just took off. People were going crazy when they tasted it, and the visual picture on Facebook as well had its buzz of its own. So it's just thinking smart with what's going to catch the attention,
and then timing as well, because you'll want to put that picture out around lunchtime, right?
Timing is key.
Mm-hmm.
Wait and put your post up at 11 o'clock. That period before you get off to your lunch hour.
Mm-hmm.
When people are hungry and stomachs are grumbling, do it then. You know what I'm saying? Don't put up at 10 o'clock at night. Timing for social media is key,
Brilliant. I love it.
Timing and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Presentation, taste, timing, use the free tools, get your message out there.
Correct.
I love it.
Correct. So it's all free.
All free. Managing those costs. Now, chef, let me ask. I mean, it may not have been so when you worked in restaurants before, but as Stuart mentioned, the technology is advancing so much that now some of the same waitresses that you mentioned earlier who used to earn a lot of tips, they're now replaced by tablets and devices.
True.
How you as a chef, no, I have never experienced it. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
You're working in the kitchen, and I guess you're going to see a screen with whatever that order is pop up.
Yes.
And you need to get that to the specification of the client, of the customer who's out there waiting for this meal, exactly how they envisioned it.
I think some things you can't replace, to be honest. That's my personal thing. I think people always love to be served by a person, and they'll always love that, and that personal sort of connection. I don't see that leaving the restaurant field. The waiter can make or break your experience, and for the most part, they're smart. It'll be the waiter that made it really fun for you, and you leave there thinking you're going to come back. Well, once the food is good, But the whole thing of having technology like that taking over in a restaurant, there'll be some restaurants, depending on the type of cuisine they're doing, that'll be very sort of hip and cutting edge, and it'll be sort of trendy to do that, But I think there'll be a place for everything, for both ways.
And then also the target market, because some of the research I saw, the baby boomers, they weren't too approving of the replacing of the waitresses. But millennials and Gen Zs, they were all for it.
Right.
Up to like 60% of them had no issue with it, So
really?
It will depend on the demographic, and I guess, as I said, the type of restaurant.
The appeal of your restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to touch on one thing before I wrap up tonight. Nicki Minaj. I mean that in a literal sense too. I don't mind. Anyway, but yes, Nicki Minaj.
Food.
Yes, Nicki Minaj.
So tell us about the story. I mean, for folks who may not know what I'm speaking about. So Nicki Minaj and her entourage would have visited Trinidad and Tobago, I think, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago now?
I think, 3 years. I don't know. Maybe 3 years now, yeah.
And
No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah. Chef Finbar, Barry, as we're calling him affectionately, he was their personal chef.
What am I saying? It's last year.
This was last year.
It was last year, and she was threatened. I was thinking she was going to appear again this year, and it didn't happen. So I was quite relieved that it didn't happen twice. It was a great experience.
It's almost like a blur now because things happening so fast.
Yes.
But how did that come about? I mean, how did you become the choice chef for this mission?
Yeah, I was. It was Carnival Monday, last year, and usually Carnival Monday and Tuesday I don't do anything. I don't play mass. I never play mass. I tried once for 10 minutes and it didn't last more than that. But I was home doing nothing. I was actually making curry chicken for the family, right? Who doesn't do that on Carnival Monday? So, and my phone rings, and there's this strange voice saying, "Hi, Mr. Bartholomew, are you chef?" And blah 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 blah. And, there's a celebrity that's here, and we're wondering if you can cater. Can you maybe do some breakfast? This is at 11 o'clock on Monday, yeah? And they're calling to ask me if I can do breakfast for a celebrity that's in the country. Like, I'm just dying to jump into breakfast at a call, a whimsical call's notice. So I said, well, first of all, it's 11 o'clock. I'm not big on breakfast menus. Let me call somebody else that I know. And then she said, well, can you just do a lunch maybe? I said, well, right now shops are closed. It's Monday and most shops are closed, and I don't have the kind of stocks in my fridge right now at this late notice. So she said, but it's okay. It's for Nicki Minaj. I said, okay, well, the shops are still closed, whether it's Nicki Minaj or not, and I don't know if I can pull this off. Let me call a couple of people. So she said, okay. So I hung the phone and I called a few friends of mine in the business, and of course couldn't get on to them because they're probably playing mass somewhere. So 3 hours later, I call back and I tell her, no, I got no word back and blah, blah, blah. And she said, while I'm talking to my sister is nudging me on my shoulder, pushing me to do it, to do something, because she's here just bored. And she likes the novel idea of this thing. So I am like, well, listen, if you want, I can do a lunch, a dinner today for you. But it'll have to be, so I give her three choices. There's a curry spread I can do, there's a Creole spread I can do, or do you rather I think it was a pilau, I don't know, or soup. She says, I'll call you back in 2 minutes. She calls back and says, they want all.
I thought so.
They want all. I said, I can do one of these for you. And in fact, you know what? I can do the curry one because I'm actually cooking curry chicken now. And it'll give me a head start. And I have some other stuff in the freezer. So basically, that's how it happened. I said, okay, I'll do a curry spread. So I did curry beef and I did curry chicken. And I did basmati rice and okros and dal and whatnot. And my sous chefs was my mother and my sister.
Yes.
Literally, that was the threesome in the kitchen.
Family business.
Somehow I pulled it off. At that point in time, it was just two suites in some location for 8 people. And we did it. They tasted it. The driver came back the next evening and says, "Oh my God, Nicki Minaj loved the food." I'm like, yeah, right. Because I couldn't even believe that maybe they got word from Nicki Minaj directly. So I said, okay. I'm thinking it's done. And she liked it. And then, of course, more calls started coming through. She really wants to get some more of Creole food from you because she said that was the best curry she ever had, blah, 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 blah. And she's kind of blown away with what she experienced with the Indian food. So I feel a little bit chuffed now. I'm kind of on board. I said, okay, well let me do lunch tomorrow. And went from there, and it got bigger and bigger numbers, and it ended up being 35 people, including the security team, and I think Marshall was involved, and whoever else, Destro, and it steamrolled from there. Mm-hmm. And I did, of course, a huge pot of pilau the next day, and then I got some staff to help me out, and then I went down to Cocoreet and got some fresh kingfish, and I made a really nice fish broth. And then I saw on Facebook that she was doing some studio shoot in some restaurant on Arbiter Avenue, and she's sitting on the chair in the middle of the filming, and there's my bowl in her hand of fish broth in her hand on her lap, the fish broth from yesterday. I said, okay, she really likes the fish broth. Yeah. And that's where it went. And she, I kept getting feedback, and then she left the country on, I think, that Thursday. And I sent her a note saying, I hope you enjoyed the food and whatnot. And the guys brought back from the airport a little envelope with her writing out and saying, your food was boom.
Right.
The food was boom. I said, okay, I guess that means it was good. But the funniest part after that was on the day afterwards, I'm driving along Trolley Road, going to Woodbrook Yard to get something to eat, and my phone turns pink, like on the passenger seat, like just totally pink. And I'm like, that's strange. Why did my phone turn pink? And it's because she tagged me in her what you call a story on Instagram, where she puts a post up, and the post was something to the effect of "Hi to the great chef." Well, I can't repeat it because it sounded so over the top. I don't want to repeat it, but it was very flattering. Let's see. And I got a job for you whenever you want in the States, and my phone started to go berserk. What I did then, I went into the Woodbrook Yard and I asked somebody to check their Instagram and see if there's really a post on their page with Nicki Minaj, because I thought it was probably pranking me. It has to be a prank, you know. But the guy opened his page and said, "Yeah, no, she's picking up some chef in Trinidad called Chef Finbar." And I said, "Really, that's me?" And they started taking photographs with me instantly. What? So it was
Celebrity.
hilarious. It was fun. But
So you being promoted as a great chef while you're there buying lunch.
You understand?
Exactly. And my phone went crazy, like with messages on Instagram. My Instagram followers went up by 10,000 in 3 hours because it went out to 250 million people.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So that was a funny story. It was a funny time, but yeah. So I never went to follow up her story and go to New York and help her in the kitchen. But you never know; it might happen sometime.
You never know. But chef, what do you think enabled you to get that phone call in the first place? Was it your network?
I guess social media network. Yeah, I guess. I don't even know the person. Oh yes, I do know the person. God, now I've gone blank in my head now. She'll kill me. Anyhow, but they probably saw my social media images and whatnot. They contacted me off of Instagram. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I just have one last thing I want to really touch on, which is the innovation in the industry. You know, and where you see room for innovation. So like certain entities may take the raw items for a dish and then they might package it for the grocery and have it in the chill section where someone could buy it, not just from your restaurant or be your personal client, but could actually go to the grocery, pick up your official ingredients and go home and make it themselves. You know, some people may even... Well, this is something I saw that I wasn't too sure about, but I saw people want to actually buy groceries from their favorite restaurants, which was interesting. I know it's not happening in Trinidad, but things like that. Where do you see room for innovation? You think some of those things could work in Trinidad? Like actually, for instance, like a multi-course meal bundle where you're getting the appetizer, entree, and dessert all for one bundle price, as opposed to buying each one individually. You know, you think those sort of things could work here? And what other things you think may work?
Well, as you mentioned, I love the idea of having something selling in supermarket made by some chef where it's all laid out for you to make it yourself or to quickly assemble it at home. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's a huge market for that here yet. We're very sort of easy, quick fix sort of people. Where we just want to go and just buy and grab and go. But I do see the whole food truck thing. Now, in New York, food trucks is a highly respected avenue to get involved in. And it's catching on here. I'm diverting a little bit to the food truck, sorry. But I've noticed, though, that many food trucks here tend to have too much of a wide menu. And if they just cut it down and stop being so tempted to do everything in the food truck and just focus on one or two items, and do those two items damn well, that's what they do overseas. There's no big menu. It's just what they're doing in each truck is damn good. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is we kind of get carried away here doing everything from curry to stew to this to that and the other and whatnot. But people are catching on now, I find, in various venues, and they're specializing in certain things that they do well. And they're realizing that, yes, once you do it well, they will come back every day for it, you know? So specializing in something that is different, and just do that well, and it will sell.
Just like the hot dog man in New York, right? All he's selling is hot dogs.
That's all he's selling is hot dogs, and that's all he wants.
And the line is wrapping around the truck.
Wrapping around his shop, and that's all he wants. I have a craving for a hot dog when I go to New York sometimes. That's all I want at the time, at that particular time of the day. That's all I need, and it's cheap and it's fast, and it's it's hot and it's enough, But yeah.
What I like is what I see in Curep. Like when you drive to Curep now, it's a lot different to I was seeing 5 years ago. That whole strip from Curep Junction heading down the Southern Main Road, I would say for the first 2 or 3 corners, just food outlets.
Yeah. No, it's taking over the country. It's really buzzing.
You're seeing where you have master chefs, chefs who used to work in some of the biggest restaurants and have their own restaurants.
They're going to that now, yeah, exactly.
They're heading into that and having their food trucks as well. Yeah,
for sure.
So that is one of the huge innovations, I think. And it's not even something that is, you could say, a 2024 thing. Food trucks weren't invented in this year.
Right.
But it's definitely something that is trending, as you said. And a lot of people can focus on.
Yeah, exactly. Get the right location and get the right limited menu.
And that is it, because as I said, Kendell, it's not something brand new. I used to work in Port of Spain, and I remember this white and red Chinese food truck. And it's $5 Chinese food. And it's a heavy box, heavy portion. They get a chicken, noodles, chow mein, everything for $5. And that, I still see it parked up there on
Richmond Street by chance?
By FCB side, somewhere around there. But they are wrong a long time. But just, it's getting expanded. One thing I want to ask you again about the innovation. You think there's opportunity for people to actually do cooking classes in the restaurant? So like some parents come with their child, and while they actually waiting for the meal, they actually like Benihana sort of thing, where they're showing you how to cook it and they're actually doing an intricate demonstration of it. You think there's opportunity for that so families could go and not just eat a good meal, but understand and learn how it's prepared and let the children go with some education as well?
Yeah, being interactive, there's a lot of that going on. I don't know about learning from scratch, but just doing the actual sauteing with them on the spots, that by itself would have a kid feeling very proud of himself,
Yes.
Just turning the, could be kebabs or some sort of Chinese sort of Asian grilling stuff that's done very quickly on a flat top that can roll around on wheels or something like that, Yeah, all that attracts customers, Yeah.
So listeners,
I haven't seen much of it here, but it's definitely a brilliant idea if somebody could just invest in that and just have some interactive play at table side,
We're talking about innovation opportunities, so there's not really things that they might be seen here, but hopefully the listeners paying attention. And they're saying, okay, well, I want to have my feet in this industry, but I don't have all these millions of dollars to invest in a location and all this machinery and equipment and stuff. I could start small. I could do some of these things we just mentioned there, and have my foot and scale with that. Start off lean, but really capture my market and really build my audience.
Yeah, think
some
out the
things
box.
in the grocery,
yeah, exactly.
And do well.
Yeah. Think smart and exactly.
It has been such an interesting conversation, but like every other great thing in life, it must take a short pause, not an end. So we want to thank Chef Finbar, Barry, as he's affectionately known, Barry Bartholomew, by the government name. Who joined us tonight. We spoke about culinary arts, of course, the restaurant industry, the state of it, how important your branding, marketing, your influencers, using the platforms, networking, building relationships, the diversification in the cuisine as well.
Yeah.
We spoke about some of the things happening locally, opportunities for us right here in Trinidad and Tobago and regionally as well. Spoke about the trends, technology, different things happening. All things that you guys in the audience need to pay attention to if you're interested in joining or becoming more successful in this industry. So Barry, before you leave tonight, is there anything you would like to leave with our audience?
I think I'll just go back to stressing the point about just if you're stuck in a situation in work and you think it's just not it's not going anywhere, take that dive. Just take that next step, and please your mind. Please your whole life. It's worth it. It's worth taking the chance.
Why don't just jump out blindly? Understand the landscape, get some tips, educate yourself, and see if you really have the core competencies to execute on what you really your dream is, You have to make sure it's something you could really do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, Barry, I'm hungry, eh? Oh, let's talk. I'm real hungry.
Yeah. A curry conversation.
Curry you.
Thank you so much, Barry.
Thanks for
being
having
on the
me.
Big Potato
Thanks, guys.
Podcast.
It was brilliant.
It was a pleasure.
Some memories as well.
Yes, it was a great conversation, man.
And we look forward to the panas.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Very exciting.
All the best to you on that and all your other ventures, your family as well.
Thank you so much.
So you guys, there you have it. Chef Finbar, Barry Bartholomew, Barry as we called him, and he's known as Barry. One of the top chefs, not only in the Caribbean, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but as he explained, globally, world-renowned. You heard his journey, you heard his story, and we really hope that it inspires somebody out there to take a leap of faith of their own. Whether you want to get into the culinary arts, into the restaurant industry, from different aspects. I mean, one of the great things he said is some great chefs even start off as waitstaff, as servers in the restaurants, as busboys. Who knows where you could end up once you get your foot in the door. So folks, that's how we end it tonight. As always, we encourage you to be great. Enjoy a nice meal tonight.
Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendell and Stuart. Your time to grow, listen up. Take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn.